I'm trying to work out how to do audio over something I already did. Um, Here I'm trying to actually rebuild something that I'd already built. The 2.8 interface is really cool. Everything's a little bit different. You got a gizmo to move things around, and you've got some different controls up there on the right to do some of the things that normally I would use the hotkeys for. Because with the tablet, I usually use the emulate 3-button mouse, but here you can do some things like this with a gizmo, and it's really cool. But I'm going to end up deleting the cube and the light because we're going to try to rebuild everything. I'm going to hide the camera just for now, and we're going to bring in the brushes that I made before. They're actually on blend swap. We're going to bring the brushes in, and I'm going to select them from the file that I'd already built before. Once I find it, the main thing is to get the particular ones I want to keep, and when I do, then I check that little box on the left that says to make the fake user, so that they stay in the file when I save it, so when I open the file again they're not gone, because if they're not active then they won't be saved. Then we need to bring in the object in that I was going to work on, and it's pretty much the same object I've been working on all these times as a test. Now it's up there on blend swap. You can find it if you want it, but any object that you've got that you want to paint on is still good. I had to double check to make sure I was selected so I could get into edit mode to show it. The subsurf is the modifier doesn't actually show in the edit mode even though it says it is, so that's something that's not complete yet. I guess that's going to be coming. There's no big deal. Here you can see the subsurface is actually active, nice and smooth, everything's slick. But we're going to want to paint, so we got to set up the environment. And so I'm splitting the window, and it's a little tricky, but it's actually still there. I usually use the bottom right corner because it seems to be the easiest to hit. Also, when I'm painting and sculpting, I like to have like an 85mm view. I don't really like the 35 or 50. It's just not flat enough for me. Here we're going to change this to a node editor, but now that they're split up, I need to choose the shader editor. And that's pretty simple. There, we already have the stuff that's already saved in the other file, so we're going to get rid of that. I'm going to go ahead and box select some of that to delete it, and I think I end up deleting all of it. So we're just going to go with a new material. Let's get rid of that one. And when you start up, it starts with a Principled BSDF, and that's a really useful. I mean, you can almost do anything you want with it, but I had to get a new computer with a new graphics card in order to get into this. My old box was just too ancient. It was like 20 years old. So we're going to add a color RGB node, just so we have something to split colors, because I don't want to actually, here I don't want to mix different materials. I want to just work inside one material, even giving it the appearance that there's something stenciled between, like there's a paint layer and such. But so I've got two different colors there. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the new image that I'm going to paint as a stencil. I'm going to name it something, and we're not even saving it to disk. I mean, I just want to show you that you're actually not having to save the image to disk. It's loading in RAM, and it's using that. That's pretty powerful, because actually a few years ago, even working with cycles, you had to commit every single change to the image and then back out and force redraw in order to get cycles to show the difference in the texture. Here we don't have that problem, so we're just adding an image texture. I'm going to reference that one that I just created. I'm going to run that into the factor of that of the mix between the two colors, and then we're going to have to put in a texture coordinate, and we're going to split this up. We're going to use the UV setting to go for this one, because we're going to use that to paint. Then I want to put another image as part of a texture, but we're going to use a box map texture. So I'm just duplicating that node, getting rid of the texture, and I'm going to open up an image that I got off the internet just as a test. It's just some bare metal, so that I could have something as a semi-realistic texture, just a photograph. And we're going to set it to box with some blending. You're going to turn up the blending a little bit, and that's the taste. That's up to you. That's what we got from back with the Tears of Steel. We got that kind of mapping for the cycles. So we're going to plug that image into that little white socket there, but I want to color it. So I think I tried color first, and then later we'll turn that to multiply. But we're going to use that color mix node in order to colorize the photograph before it goes into the input into the mix between the two colors. If that makes any sense. Might be butchering it. Picked a kind of an orangey red, and then run that in. And then I know that I'm going to have to set up my workspace, my world environment, so we can see anything. So I think I'm saving right now. I'm saving so I can keep from losing it when I crash, because I think later on it does crash. That's the only thing. 2.8 alpha is crash prone, and it's not always the same stuff, and I can't really figure out what I did, other than maybe my graphics card got bungled or something else. But it's it's worth it. They're working on it. They're using it for the spring thing. So here I'm going to use the environment world, and then I realized I hadn't set it up yet. I've got my default that HDRI that I already set, but that's not getting me what I want. So I started punching things, trying to find out what I did wrong, realizing that, oh, I need to go back and set some things. Yeah, I looked up that. That's another thing. I really kind of wish that when you toggled the gizmo off, that you actually had the ability to bring it back if you wanted while still in that full draw mode. But here I go and add a world texture, environment texture to the world. I'm going to tell it to use nodes, and then I'm going to bring up an HDRI from the ones that I downloaded from HDRIhaven.com. You guys need to go over there and get what you need. They've got some really good stuff. I usually use the 2K small, because I'm just painting. I don't need to render something for film. But anyway, plug that in. It's already set. And go back to shading, use the world. And there you go. I need to go back into my object. And here I need to set my metallic level. And I think I look at the shader, I'm thinking maybe I need to change the multiply here. Let it update. And see, the thing is that with Eevee, it does take a second to readjust, to draw, to figure out what's going on. But once it does, it's legit, just bona fide. Here I'm going to actually affect the metalness with my UV map, or sorry, my UV mapped image, my black stencil. So I'm going to run that into the metalness, and then I'm going to add an invert, so color invert, and that way I get my full metal look. And I'm in this video, I'm not really messing with the roughness yet, but that's a whole nother setting that you can do. You can actually use a secondary image to affect the roughness, or you can combine that stencil and the other image to do that. So here I put the other image in for my reveal, so once I start drawing on it, you end up with metal under. I think I'm talking about that, about Eevee. Here's I've set it up for my active tool. So now when I start working on painting, it'll give me that over there, and I just kind of get the icons out of the way for right now, because I need more space over here since I'm using such a large area for my node tree. And we're almost ready to paint, I think. I think I'm talking about maybe bump. At this point, I need to add a bump to it. So really simply, Really tiny number. Something that's not going to be too much of an effect. I don't want to get crazy yet. And I've realized I need to actually add the other texture and the stencil. So I kind of bring them both in. And then run that into the height. And into the normal. And nothing's yet because we haven't painted, but need to save. Hope I saved. There you go. Save. And that's the thing with the current state. I would suggest save as often as you can, because if you're really getting into something and you're really making something happen, unless you're going to keep downloading as you go and doing your builds on your own on the fly, you're going to run into some problems. So here with the gizmo visible, you see more of just the actual texture. So you see that black, and start looking at it. I'm thinking there's something wrong with my brush. My brush got set wrong or something. So I turned the toggle of the gizmo back off so I get the regular lighting again. Start painting, and I'm thinking there's something else going on. Yeah, it's because of that. The cursor is immediately when you switch into texture paint, the cursor is the active tool, and it's, I'm sorry, that just doesn't make any sense, but that's the way it is. So you need to, and that top left UI, those have nothing to do with the brush. So you can set that to green, set that to orange, you won't affect the brush. You won't even choose the brush. You gotta go over there, and then that works. That's actually legit. But the other stuff on the left is kind of disconnected. It doesn't work. So here I start painting, and I realize, you know, I need that black over there. Oops. Go back to white. So you know, I lost my stop somewhere. I must have deleted my stop. So put a stop in, and then bring the black and bring it over. Then you can use the little arrows to flip it. You get a little bit different feel for it. Sometimes you want to fill them back in. And these are procedurals. There's nothing crazy. They're on blend swap. There's no images attached to this. This is just stuff that's actually just procedural. But I love procedurals for masks like this. It's a brush mask. It's a brush, so it's using the gradient as the brush color through the procedural mask, and that allows for some nice little chipping, a nice little breakage. And here is one where it's called Breaking Clouds, which has kind of got a nice, depending on how you press, you can get a different effect each time. So it's not something that just looks like a stamp. That's the one thing that I don't like about some textures, is that you look at it and you'll see that it's got the same image stamped across it all over the place. Whereas you want something that has a story to it. And there I go, hitting the wrong buttons again. I still got to get used to Windows again. I was on Linux Mint for so long, and Win 10 is nice. It's actually pretty good once you do make some setting changes, but I'm missing my dual boot, so I need to get that back the way I wanted it. Okay, so I'm just exploring here, and I'm probably going to crash here in a little while. All the switching and swapping and calculations and stuff, and great stuff. The X shortcut for swapping your color doesn't work until you make a dab. So press it, you have to hit it. Sometimes you have to hit it twice. That's fine, it's just a small hiccup, but it's something that can be addressed later. But this, I don't know if you guys really are paying attention to painting in Blender Render, but this is so much faster of a response than what you get when you're painting in Blender Render. So much faster and so much more detailed. The calculations for the HDRI are so nice compared to what we had available On the other one, I had to actually put a layer in my textures just to get the shininess. I had to fake it with the texture in the view there. So setting up the camera to show you what it looks like when it's rendered. Because here's the thing, the cool thing about Eevee is that this calculation is done. So as it's going, it's updating your map, updating your texture, but the rest of the shader is already there. Same thing for the environment. It's already there in the world, so it's there. So boom, that's as fast as it rendered. That's, you know, we're talking real-time rendering for real. I mean, some people are probably sitting there shaking their head at me, but I mean, I'm just a painter. So the idea that I could get that kind of look that fast, that's amazing to me. And I really have to say, Clement, you guys really knocked it out of the park with this stuff. All you guys, Bastion, everybody, this is just awesome. I mean, there's some things that need to be addressed, and there's some small things here and there that are kind of like, I wish, but you know, as far as delivering something that's usable, beautiful, just awesome. The thing about the brushes sometimes is that, you know, it'd be nice if, oop, there you go. There's my crash. That's why we save. Why we save. So I have to try to double click. My pen doesn't want to double click for some reason, so I have to get the mouse. And we get it going. Bring it back up. Boom. In there. Okay. We got it. Calculated. Back in. Just doesn't have anything painted on it. That's the other thing I wanted to point out. All of that activity on the stencil, that was all without any problem. I mean, there was just nothing going on with that whole, you know, I didn't have to save that image over and over again trying to see if I could get it to draw. And see, there you go, the cursor is the active tool, and so you got to press on one of the brushes icons to make it default. I hate to say this, but maybe the order of the tools there is wrong. Maybe the cursor should be the last item, not the first one, because the cursor being the first element for painting doesn't seem to me to make any sense. And I know that it's still usable for when you do the clone painting and stuff, but it's not your primary tool. So I'm just saying maybe put it to the bottom or something. Yeah, and the other thing too is that with Texture Paint Plus, and it turned into Easy Paint, we had all these different pop-ups and stuff. But if I was able to actually move all of those things up there on the top just to the center of my window, I probably wouldn't even need the pop-ups, because that's pretty much it. You've got the little bar and you click on it and it comes up. So almost everything is just all doable right there. Just awesome. And it's, you know, it'd be nice to be configurable, but it's beautiful. The user interface is so much better than what we've had in the past, and does, now I know I'm gushing and everything, but it does feel like a whole new program. It doesn't feel like it's just an evolution of something else. It feels like I'm dealing with something totally different. The breaking clouds one, it's for the pressure. You can press on it differently, and you can get different things. And there you go. That's my missing stop again. I don't know why I spent so much time with that. I should have saved that brush at that time. And see, I fixed it twice in a row. That's retarded, but okay. So here we go, scratching on top of something. So I kind of like I like damage, but I like damage that has some sort of sense to it. So I like the combining damage. Like one of the other things I like to do, which I don't show how to do here, I like to do a lot of dirty grunge kind of stuff where I can turn on and put in some layers under on the opposite side of the stencil, so that way it's calculated in with the, like, say, like the Like it's not affected by the reveal, but still there, but have a lot of dirt. See, that's the cool thing, is that we've got some really cool looking stuff there. I mean, primarily on my day job, I work with like trying to make different things look real for like food product stuff and plastic bags to put them in. And I can just imagine what Eevee's going to be like when I get the, you know, the transparencies and stuff and the reflections going with plastics to try to do things. But see, like this, look how fast that draw was for adding another HDRI. So I tried a couple here and a couple there. All these ones from HDRI Haven, you know, big shout out. Only a couple bucks a month, and I've got access to anything I want. You can still go on there right now, and you don't even have to be the patron, but it'd be cool. I mean, if you can sponsor a couple of bucks a month, you can actually help them continue to make new ones, and you can keep getting all these brand new HDRI. I use the 2K because I'm painting. I don't need a lot of memory to be used when I'm painting, but you can then turn around and set up your scene using your full size HDRI, and then who knows, you know, you make a movie, you might be using the CPU for that. But this stuff is, I don't know if you guys can really appreciate what I'm talking about, but having that look dev like that, being able to get different kind of feel for what's coming on for your shader, just bona fide awesome. There's a couple of things that don't work right, and you know, and just small things, like, and two main things would be their stencil and the curve stroke method. What the curve stroke method is, where you use curve to follow like a little place, like what I'm showing right there, you know, and pretty much you control click to place the deal. So you see when I see where my mouse was and see where the point comes up. I try to move them. I'm trying to select them. Use A to select, and just doesn't do it. I don't know if it's I'm doing it wrong, but I try and use my right mouse to select, which is already should be working, and finally I had to select all and then just grab it, move it. But now I've got it placed in position, and we're just going to see how the stroke goes. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a stroke, and still look at the difference. Look at the distance. So if I left the curve where it lay, it probably still would have lined up on the curve that I wanted, but it's off. It's just jacked up. It's not right. So don't do that. Don't use that. You're gonna have to just try something with maybe just use the Shift S to get your lazy curve going and just draw it by hand. But here I'm gonna just show you. I'm gonna set up a brush texture. Use a stencil. So we'll set that up as stencil. Okay, and then I'm gonna move it in place. That's the funny thing is that stencil, it's still a procedural, but it's going to handle like an image. Okay, but watch what happens when I start painting on it. Okay, so see how it goes outside, and then it stops right there in the like 2/3 of the way down. So it's like almost a complete half off. You see where the stencil is, and then you see where the stencil lays, and it's not right. So that's just something either going on with the projection, or it's probably something simple, but they're not using that kind of painting for a spring yet, so probably not going to get fixed for a while until they start asking for actual bugs from people like me. But just to make sure I could, you know, make sure I show you, okay, here the line works. The line does go where you want it to, so it's going exactly by the cursor, not some sort of secondary thing. And it still works pretty cool. And you know, it's fine. So the other ones, the dot, drag dot, it's fine. Okay. And then airbrush, anchored, fine. Of course, we already did line, so it's all still good. It's all working just fine, except for, like I said, those two things. And it's probably an easy fix, I bet. But other than that, it's just all kinds of fun to paint. I mean, I hope you guys are going to dig in. Don't get scared because you're worried about, oh, I don't know how to make PBR materials or whatever. And that's exactly what I think about that. Whatever. Just get in there and do it. Just mess around, you know, crash. Go ahead and crash. Don't worry about it. Like I said, just bring in an object and start messing around. Start learning how you can mess around with stuff and manipulate everything you can, because right now it's just about getting used to the system and how the user interface works, and getting used to finding everything you want. And you know, you can like here, I'm gonna just recolor that, you know, and then like, okay, well, you know, that's cool, but what if I want a little darker? You know, what if I just want something a little bit different? So let me go ahead and see about finding me a hue adjustment. I'll see if I can put that another node in there. And Indy with B Painter, he showed the way with, you know, all this stuff that he could do with B Painter add-on with the adjustment layers and stuff. And people are like, you know, we need adjustment layers, and he's just proven it's all in the nodes in the background. So props to him. He's got some really cool ideas, and I hope some of that ends up inside the core. But if not, I mean, more power to him. Yeah, you know, when he's got an option, or he's got an opportunity to make it 2.8 compatible, it's gonna rock, dude. It'll totally rock. So that you get the ability to mute that. So you get that there, and then you can mute it, unmute it, and you can kind of get a feel for it right off the bat. I mean, how do you want it? And that's just a hue adjustment. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I don't go any further than that because it's running out of time. Then when I checked the video, audio was totally jacked up. I just couldn't get it to work right. So yeah, I think if you want to paint, if you want to work on hard surfaces, and you want to work on stuff like what they're doing with Spring with the organics and stuff, there's a lot of opportunity there. Everything's already really doable. Maybe use 279 to use all your add-ons for your hard surface and all your you know major stuff, Vertopo and everything. But then bring it into 2.8 and just check it out. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.